athletics disciplines, high jump, pole vault were my favourite sports, I suppose, followed by hurling, and I played Gaelic football because everybody played them. But we'd have a go at playing rugby, and so there'd be one or two people, boys in the town, that have cricket sets. So we'd have a bash at cricket, although we didn't really understand it. But we'd have a knock with the bat, and have fun with it. And later on, there was all sorts of sports in the town. Soccer was catered for. We got into that, and although in those days, if you played competitive soccer, you'd be banned from playing the Gaelic games, but I thought that was stupid, and I just ignored it anyway. I didn't play a lot of competitive Gaelic games, and if they wanted to suspend me or throw me out of the association, wouldn't have bothered me anyway. I'd kind of maybe have worn it as a badge of honour, but there's no way you could have been prepared for the move from rural Ireland to a metropolis. Although I wasn't living in London as such, but I was living very much on the outskirts, the other end of Croydon, and it was still all part of Greater London, really. I mean, there was no break in between. There was no country. There was no fields. It was all the way down. I was living at the very edge of it, and with I suppose with the West of Ireland accent, sometimes it was difficult to make oneself understood, things like that. So that was different, But eventually you got into the way of things. You began to meet people and got friends, got interests, and I suppose got more ambitions, and you moved on from there, and you accepted it. I mean, you again sort of the 50s were fairly bleak in the west of Ireland, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities, or didn't seem to be, and sort of you settled down to life in England, moved up to London, and you'd meet sort of people that you went to school with, and they might be living in the same area as you. You might get involved with them. You might build up a friendship with somebody who you weren't particularly friendly with when you were at home, which was the case, And it's a friendship that's lasted till today. I did a few all sorts of jobs. Worked on the buildings for a short while. Didn't suit me very much. Didn't like that sort of life, and spent a while working on a golf course. And then I got involved. Well, I had been involved with music, and I sort of worked with little bands around London. Did a lot of that, and through that I met a friend who had a driving school, and I started being a driving instructor. So I spent the rest of my life at that. First working for a couple of driving schools, my friend's school first of all, and later on then with a school which was run by Italian people. From there I moved on and started working on my own, and I spent the rest of my time working self-employed, had my own business. Some English people could have been a bit more formal, you'd be inclined to feel that you had to sort of announce that you were coming, rather than just sort of lift the latch, as it were, and walk in the back door, which you could do with the Italian people. Working with the Italian people were great, because the Italian people, Irish people, always tended to seem to get along. You were treated almost as one of the family. You could visit them anytime, any day, whenever you liked. You were always welcome in their house, seemed to be welcome irrespective of time or day, and they were very sociable, and I suppose in some ways they were very like Irish people, and they always very welcoming.
And I remember you telling me before there's a period in the 70s where you went home for a while.
Yes, I sort of thought I'd like to come back to Ireland in the 70s, the early 70s. The shipping thing, it was running up to the time of the oil crisis in the early 70s, and the company I've been working with, the main part of the business was building oil refineries, and the situation with building the oil refineries suddenly changed. There was no orders for new oil refineries, and of course I can't remember, as I remember, I think the Arab states were claiming the oil rights back from the large oil companies, and so obviously the oil companies could see something coming down the line that everybody else didn't. That was my feeling at the time, and we were all made redundant. So I thought, well, I'll give Ireland a shot for a while, but it didn't work out. Again, there wasn't much work around at the time, and
how long did you come home for?
So I stayed around for about a year, and doing bits and pieces, but it just it didn't work out. So I went back to England.
Yeah, and what sort of bits and pieces would you have done?
Well, I mean, most of the time I just I worked with the band and made a living of sorts. Well, kept body and soul together for the year. That was about it. Again, sort of working in London, in the busier parts of London, at the work I was doing, teaching people to drive. Traffic was getting busier and busier all the time, and it was getting hardly stressful, but it was getting kind of dangerous, and it was very busy. It was difficult, and I was sort of approaching 60 years, and I sort of, for a long time, I had actually worked 2 jobs, with the music and working, sort of for myself, which wasn't 40 hours a week or 9 to 5. It was nearly 24/7, and so I wanted to get away from that if I could, and have a bit more time for myself, a bit more time for my family, maybe. Well, I suppose like most Irish people who go away, they only intend going for a short while, and it's always in the back of their mind to come back. They're always looking for the opportunity. And although I'd had one unsuccessful attempt, it was always my intention, but the opportunities didn't crop up. I mean, the economic situation in Ireland was always kind of desperate, and when I had a family to look after, I mean, I needed some certainty of income and to look after them. But eventually made up my mind, partially because my children didn't actually like living in England, although they were born there and brought up. And coming back, it allowed me to, I suppose, I'd missed, I suppose, the being able to follow up and watch, particularly hurling, which I loved as a youngster, and I was home, I was free to watch that sort of thing, Also, it was lovely to get away from living in the city and the constant hustle and bustle, the traffic, the noise. It's nice to be living in the country, fresh air. We see green fields every day. You could go out walking almost any time of the day or night, and you didn't feel you didn't feel that there'd be any threat, you know. Not that I ever experienced any threat in London, but I suppose you always heard about, you know, sort of random violence that you were always, I suppose, conscious of the possibility of that happening here. But yeah, I think sort of the slow pace of life